Hey everyone, my name is REDRUP. This is the It's Not a Phase podcast, and on today's episode I'm joined by HAPPYDAZE vocalist Luke Bovill. We talk all about the band's new full free Radical EP, forming HAPPYDAZE after his previous band Woes disbanded, his process for writing and producing songs, writing sessions with Skyler Acord, signing with Thriller Records, work on new material, and loads more. Now, if you enjoyed this or any other episode of the podcast and you want to show your support, there's a few ways that you can do that. Number one, leave a rating and review wherever you're listening to this. It takes just a few seconds and it really does help. Number two, share this on your social media, whether that be Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever. Or number three, if you want to go the extra mile, you can pay a little bit each month to join the Patreon, and in return you'll get access to episodes early along with some of our perks, or you can pick up some merch from the store. All the links to that and the podcast socials where you can follow us can be found at itsnotaphase.co.uk. That's itsnotaphase.co.uk. And now with all that out of the way, let's jump right into this week's episode of It's Not a Phase. What's up everybody? Thank you for joining me on this episode of It's Not a Phase, where I'm joined by Luke Bovill, who is the vocalist for the Scottish alt-pop punk band HAPPYDAZE. How you doing, man?
I'm good, mate. I don't know what to call us either.
Yeah. You're a band. That's
yeah, we are a band.
Yeah.
A band with guitars, drums, and the occasional little sample or something in the background.
Yeah. It's a nice mix.
Someone described us as experimental pop punk, and I quite like that. But I don't know. I think we've moved away from the pop punk sort of stuff a little bit more than our previous. I think we were like glistening pop punk in our first EP and the singles that were beforehand. There was always the hint of whatever it was that we were working towards for this record in all of the songs that we've had before, I think. But I do really enjoy the fact that people still see the pop punk, but I really enjoy it when people see past it and they're like, this is a rock band that have got all these electronic elements. And like, because the electronic stuff is the more interesting part when we're producing the songs, and quite a lot of the time, like, it's very difficult for it to start as a band song these days. We're not usually just sitting there being like, right, we've got the guitar, the bass, and the drums. What's going on with that? It'll usually be like, it'll start with a riff, or it'll start with whatever this sort of like little sample idea is that's going on in the background. It's like the synths and things like that. You can hear it in stuff like Heaven You Felt. Like, I had the riff, but then I was like, what's going to take it away from just being this riff with like a beat and just becoming like another boring emo trap song or something? So yeah, breakbeat and samples and synths and ahs and all that, it's the good stuff.
Yeah, I think it's good that people can't quite pin down your sound, because then that gives you so much more freedom to experiment. Like, because if people were like, this is unquestionably a pop punk band, and then you start kind of doing some experimentation on like the latest EP, which we'll talk about more in a second, they might be like, well, what is this? This isn't what I signed up for.
Yeah, I think that's done us pretty well with like our first ever single. Like, it's such an up and down of like, you've got the beats, you've got like the almost like rappy style vocals, and then in the chorus it's little straight out like boom boom dab boom boom boom. That is so pop punk, but it's like you're going up and down, and like we've always had that from the get go. And I think that with our record, we could have done the pop punk thing of having like an acoustic song on it, and it could have been all nicey, but instead of that we went for like a lo-fi chill beat instead, because that's what we're going with Heartbeats. And I love that song. I think that is one of our more out there and interesting songs. It didn't get the love it needed, but maybe that was our bad for not telling anybody that it existed. But I think that there's stuff in like Faded and Cool Blue in particular where it's like there's the pop punk and then there's something else that's going on now, and we're really zooming in on the something else, and that's what I'm really excited to be working on over the next couple of months. But we are actually writing some more new music and recording it at the moment. So
right. Well, yeah. Talk about this, the latest EP, which only came out a few weeks ago, Full Free Radical. How do you feel, fans have been sitting with it, and the critics too, how have they been taken to it?
It's been so positive, man. I do have to admit, one of my favourite things to do with the boys is we get quite a lot of like translated to English reviews. So some of the translations end up sounding quite funny. But nobody's savage. We did have this one Italian review that was really funny. It was just like, the memorable HAPPYDAZE song we do not yet have. I was just like, oh my God. Some people are, they're honest, and that's what I want to hear, but nobody's negative. I think that people are really on the journey with us, because they compare it to the last record, which as I was writing it, I was comparing it to the last record, but I just see them being so completely different. I don't think that there's two songs from Underground Summer Sound to now Full Free Radical that are like comparable as songs. Very, very much. There's a progression from where we were to where we are now. But like we've been playing Faded and Cool Blue live since last May.
Right.
Like, we put them in our set. We wanted people to hear them and see what they were about. And like there was something about Faded. We would play them in the order of like Faded, Cool Blue, sort of like third and fourth in the set. And by that point, I do think that we would have the audience at each point 2 songs in, because we open with like 2 of our best songs, With You and Go Wrong, and they slam. I love those songs still. It's going to be really difficult to decide what we play live nowadays because we've got so many options. But there was always a reaction to Faded, in particular the bridge, because it's like, this is different. It's got like the really low sampled vocal, the really like this sort of like super low guitars, and super cool beat that isn't necessarily hot punky. But then as soon as it's done without anything being forced, it's like it's right back into like the super bouncy, super pop punky chorus. And then with Cool Blue, that initial sort of like the sample loop that comes in before the guitars come in, by the time the drums come in, everybody was so interested. You could see everyone's just sort of like, oh, what's this? This is quite cool. This has got like a cool little groove to it.
Yeah.
And then even in the UK, where people refuse to dance, everybody's giving it a little bit of this, and they're sort of like swaying about it. And I was really, really excited by that. That was kind of a factor of like introducing that as the first song for the record as well, because we played it. We knew how people reacted to that song in particular. We're like, let's bring everybody who's not heard a new Happy Days song in like over a year and entice everybody in the same way that we did with it live. So yeah, it's been a great journey with it, man. Great journey, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what else we can do with it. It was, to be honest, like out of all my experiences of being in a band, sometimes you just like, for the majority of the time, you don't make it to the second EP. You all fall out and you go do something else. I was fortunate enough to play in a band before this, and I joined just as they were releasing their second EP, and then like I'd helped write a couple little bits on those songs that was like still them. But then by the time I joined the band, it was just the album that we worked on. But it was, it's 10 songs, like a big job and all that. It's been interesting for me, this one, having to like compare to something else, and like, not that there was like this massive level of expectation, but by the time we'd done it all and we'd recorded it all, we got our Spotify stats in, and we were 250 people's top artist. And I was just like, that's quite a lot of people, considering that we only have 11 songs for them to listen to. I was like, shit, we've got people are expecting something with what we're about to give them. I really hope it's the right thing, and I think that it is. I think that we've done the best logical next step from what we had been doing before to what we're doing now. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, you mentioned just then, like you were in a band beforehand. And I think you're referring to Woes, right? Because you were with them for a couple of years before they.
I was, mate. Yeah.
Disbanded. So I think the band ended there at, like the beginning of 2020. So that's like obviously before the lockdowns and stuff started. Mm-hmm. Was Happy Days kind of bubbling away already as the band was ending, or was it something that kind of came afterwards?
What's It For, Go Wrong, All Away, like out of our first singles, they were all written before we even announced that Woes had broken up.
Right.
And I wrote Go Wrong with DJ, right, the singer of Woes, and I still write songs with DJ. Like DJ helped me write Cool Blue. I'd had the whole song. We came back from the Neck Deep tour last year, and I was super inspired. I was like, right, we're going to write this entire next record this week, because I had COVID. I was like, I'm stuck in the house, so I'm just going to fucking write every day. And in that week, I wrote Heaven You Felt, Cool Blue, Day In and Out, and I'd finished off Same To Me just before the tour, and Faded was already written Radical with Mike. What was the other? And Thinking of You was also finished. So like by the point that like 2 weeks after the tour, we had all the songs ready, and we're like, these are the ones that are going to be this record. It was sitting with that song, and the only thing I didn't have was a chorus. I was like, what am I going to put here? And then I had the words Cool Blue, like that feeling of like sadness that you're happy about, sadness that you have to be happy about, sadness that you have to accept. But I was like, what the fuck else am I going to say about this? So I just sent Deej, like literally just like videoed my screen. I was like, what do I do here? What do you think I should do? And he gave me a nice little middle bit that I based the rest of the lyrics off of, and I was like, right, that's why we still work together.
Okay, that's cool. So how did Happy Days kind of form then? Because in the grand scheme of things, you are kind of a very new band. You're still like in your infancy, aren't you? It's two EP.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was just we formed from the logical next step after Woes, man. We built a life in that band that I really wanted to maintain. I was considerably the youngest in Woes. Not considerably the youngest, but like I was the youngest. Like a 7-year age gap between me and Deej, and that's people want to go off and do other things in their life, and like actually feel some form of satisfaction from it. You can do the band thing as long as possible, but it reaches a point where you're like, what am I going to do next?
Yeah, especially because there's like so little money in music nowadays anyway.
Oh man, yeah. And
Gotta pay
like
the bills.
we'd at the point where we had decided that we'd just come back from our first like real stint of touring, and it was 2.5 months of like constantly being out, and that's not even that much, but it was because we went around the UK and Europe like 4 or 5 times in that 2.5 months, and it was incredible, and I was just like, I can't wait to do that again. The rest of the guys were like, I'm fucking never doing that again. So yeah, we went off on it like that, but I was just like, this was the life that I wanted to live. This was what I wanted to do. I wasn't ready to give it up yet. And sent over like a couple of demo ideas that I had. Go Wrong was in there. Seb, who he had like, he worked with him in Woes and all that. And I was like, what do you think of this? This is what we're doing next. He sent it over to Powell's, who now plays drums with those guys, Nick Deep. And he was like, mate, this is class. We didn't even have a band name. We didn't even have a full song. And he was like, I'm involved. Let's work on this together. And during COVID, me and Powell's must have spent, we were on the phone like every day, just like chatting about it, working it out. I've got like screenshot of the text exchange of it was coming up with the band name. It was he and I's baby quite a lot of the time in terms of like, what is this going to be? And then it was me and Pete on Zoom 10 minutes later writing the songs. And because we're absolute rig fiends, like we know how to set up. We can literally run a TV show from our studio. We've got all the rig to do so. But instead we just sit and fucking get boys and just chat shit. But we would set up like the drums would be running through Zoom and all that before we had any like audio mover stuff, which became super, super fucking helpful. I don't know if you know any of that stuff. Like, do you do any music recording of that yourself?
No, I don't know, no.
So there's this thing called Listen To. You put the plug in right at the end of your master chain so that everything's going through this. And It just sets this super high quality audio stream up. And you can send it anywhere in the world, and that's how I've been doing a bunch of sessions with people. Like I wrote a couple of songs with Matt Squire over the lockdown period. We didn't actually release them, but they were really, really great sessions. Just learned a lot about moving quickly and making decisions quickly for the sake of finishing a song, because if you've got a full song to finish, you can see what's missing or what's wrong. Whereas if you're like, I've got this verse and I've got this chorus, but I'll come back to it.
Yeah.
You don't even like the verse and chorus and stuff. It's like, it's good to just push through in the session, get it finished, and then come back to what that is and be like, right, what can I take it and replace here? And like he was telling me crazy stories about like driving across America, and he's got his phone and he's on the phone in the studio, and he's got the Listen To link going through his car speakers. So he's listening and he's producing a session called Driving Across America. And I was just like, oh my God, that is absolutely fucking mental. I love it.
Wow.
And then on Underground Summer Sound, Heatwave was the product of a session with Acord, the bass player of Issues. He and I started that sesh at I think it was 4 p.m. my time, 11 his time. And I was still on at 1 a.m. We went so hard, and it was such a good session, completely vibing straight from the get-go. And he just plays every instrument with such soul and such class. And it was just so cool to be able to be because we were working out what we were going to do at first, and we were letting each other hear music. And it was I'm sure he was expecting me to be yeah, here's this pop punk song I like. And I was like, yeah, this is this guy called Gallant that I really like, sort of R&B, really heavy production, but really, really cool artist. And he was like, bro, I worked with him last week. And I was just like, mate, There we go. And he was like, this is the song that we worked together on. And then that put us on a vibe immediately. And then we were chatting about what we were going to do. We wrote the demo. I didn't actually even have all my rig. It was all down at the studio, and I was sitting doing this session in my house. And we had all these different ideas. And we're like, yeah, this is really cool. And he's recording some synths, sending stems over, and we're kind of building it all together. And we smashed out the sesh. We got we wrote the lyrics to the verse, and we had an idea of what the chorus was. And then I quite savagely just completely redone it all. I was like, nah, but I think that it needs to be this needs to have a little bit more energy. And I would have sent it over to him, and literally everything that we would have worked on wasn't there, because it was these new guitars, and it was super fast chorus and stuff. And I wrote a new chorus for it, but it's a fucking catchy chorus. And he would be like, where's all the shit that we worked on? And then the entire outro was all his fucking men sounds and really cool beats and stuff. And he's like, mate, brilliant. And we realized that it's if he can just shred for as long as he can shred for until he's like, right, I'm done. I'm out. I'm shredded out. So we done another session, and I just stuck to the bridge of Heartbeats. And I was like, all I've got is the piano and the drum. So if you listen to that song and you hear all these that's all Sky just fucking shredding. I was literally just making a fry up. And he's just like, dude, is this all right? And I'm just like, mate, keep going. Whatever you got, just use it and I'll fucking piece it all together. And in my mind, it was like, I wanted this synth orchestra, like all like rising and building, like super Bon Iver inspired with that, like the atmosphere just like builds and builds and builds and builds until it drops into something class. And yeah, working with Sky is just, it's just, you want some fucking shred on your songs, work with Sky. It's great. Man is one of the few people who's managed to put a bass solo in a song and make it work. You know what I mean? You got to listen to that guy. That guy understands music.
Yeah. Like I say, he's in Issues. I think he's toured with 21 Pilots as well, and then he's got his own solo stuff going on as well.
Yeah. He's a shredder, man. Absolute shredder.
Yeah.
Musical soldier. And then the whole purpose of what I was talking about there was the listen to stuff. So this is like being able to send this out and be able to work with all these people all over the world. And it's not like I have to run and do this. It's just like I'm in my house. I just go back around and go back into my living room or my kitchen when I'm done, you know, or like I can do that. It's just like, bro, I'm just going to take like 20 minutes. And it's just like, oh yeah, no worries. I'm just going to like work on this idea or whatever. And it's just like, yeah, nice. And then you're just like backing and forth. But it's like, I really enjoy that. It's obviously great to be like in the physical presence of people, but more often than not, that just can't be done. And it means that it opens up the opportunity for a band like us, where when it comes to working with someone like Mike Green, we don't have to go all the way out and take up his studio time and take up all that. It was like, he was literally just like on his phone with an acoustic guitar and he couldn't get it. He was like trying to get something working while I was doing it. I was like, don't worry, man. I don't think he didn't realize that we had our studio. Whereas like we'd done so many of these sessions, and the biggest compliment I've ever been given by anyone was 15 minutes into that session where he was like, man, you're really, really fast. This is good. And I was just like, thanks. I'm trying to impress you.
Yeah.
But that when we wrote Radical, we wrote it in a session, start to finish, guitar, like riffs, all that structure, all the vocals. And I was just like, wow, that's how you do it. That's class. Enjoyed it so much that we went and done the other one of Day In and Out together with Mike. And I like, you listen to them, they are the pop punk songs. They are to a T pop punk. Day In and Out was a little bit more formulated before we done it. Like, we really, all I had for Radical was the beginning riff. I really liked those chords. His approach was really interesting as well, and it's how the title track came about. And the name of the title track came about was that he said, if you were to look at a list of 100 songs and the only reason that you were picking those songs was based off of its name, what would you name that song? Because that's what we're going to name this song. And I was just like, that's really interesting. And I was like, I really like the word radical right now. I think it's a great word. It's fun. And he was like, yeah, radical is good. And he was like typing some stuff. He was just like, free radical, full free radical, go full free radical. What about that? I was just like, yeah, man, that's really cool. That's like, and like we're Googling it, it doesn't exist anywhere else. We're like, yeah, this is great. And then it was just like, he was like, I might just blow up my life. I was just like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. We're getting a little bit crazy. It's not something that Happy Days, and we're not fond of a metaphor. It's all very literal lyrics.
Yeah.
We're having a laugh about that when we were trying to write something the other day. Someone suggested a metaphor and I was like, whoa, come on now.
You mentioned like Googling a name before. And I believe just before you're about to put out the first Happy Days song, because originally wasn't Happy Days meant to be 2 words, and then someone like 2 or 3 days beforehand did the same thing. So that's why you like shoved the 2 words together. Yeah, everything happens for a reason in that. And like that guy just wanted to release his music. It's an acoustic record. It's just like a solo project for him. It was just the worst possible timing because it was like not even a week and we'd had like a logo and stuff made and we'd had everything made and we were just like, make it one word. That's what I was looking at. Like when we were trying to come up with a band name to begin with, like, it took us about 5 months to land and be satisfied with Happy Days. And when that came out, I was like, we're not changing it. Everything about it, like the mantra behind the songs, everything, it's all interlinked with it. We're keeping it like that. Let's just make it one word. And then we ended up getting this really cool arch logo that we used for a while at the start. I miss that logo. Yeah, everything happens for a reason. I like it. I think it's good though, because when I Google like Happy Days, one of the things that comes up is a shop called Happy Days as well, which is the 2 different words. So the fact that it's one word, like as soon as you put that in, like all the results are you guys. It's either like new songs come out, here's an interview, here's answers, stuff like that. So I think it's worked in your benefit. It is definitely it's an existing phrase before, you know, like I see people cutting about with it on t-shirts and I'm like, where'd you get that t-shirt? And you're like, I've had this t-shirt for like 10 years. And you're like, oh, there you go. You know, But it's a funny one when you're naming a band because you're like, it's got to be cool. Like I'm not going to give my opinion on what I think a bad band name is with examples, but there's some atrocious band names out in the world, isn't there? Yeah, there is. I think that we've got a pretty good one. And anytime I say it, people think that they've heard it before.
And they've just not heard it in the context of the band, but in particular with like my parents' friends, I've heard that, I've seen that. I'm sure you have.
Yeah. Maybe they're thinking about the TV show Happy Days.
Yeah, I think they are. Yeah.
Well, what was it like kind of forming Happy Days in the fact that you were kind of building this band in the middle of a pandemic? So you couldn't, you had these physical restrictions literally of not being able to perform live. Do you think that kind of benefited you to kind of like solidify and refine what Happy Days was going to become?
It was really frustrating. And then it kind of just like the elements of the songs with the pop punk and the beats, it goes up and down. You're like, yeah, this is great. I get to release music and I don't have to go and be uncomfortable on tour. And then you're like, wait, I want to play some fucking gigs. And then like from the moment that we did play our first show, it was just like, let's go. We need to be out playing these songs because it was so much fun. Like I'd never played a show without a guitar, like ever. And I was super nervous about the first one. And then it was funny because like I was, as we were like literally like on the stage beside, I was just like, God, I really wish I was playing my guitar. I love my guitar. I love my riffs. Came off the stage, I was like, fuck a guitar, man. So much better not having to fucking have that big heavy piece of wood on you.
Yeah.
Being able to just sing and have a laugh. And like I realized like that's what was exhausting about gigs, was holding a fucking ash body Telecaster over me for like 40 minutes was it hurts. Like my shoulder is fucked, bro. Like I don't know if you can hear it, but like if I click near to the microphone, you might be able to hear it go. It's great fun just being a singer now, and like having to go through my own progression with that as well. Like the first couple of jams that we had in the room, can't remember what the first song that we properly played. I think it was a song that we never even released that we played together for the first time. And like by the time I hit the first chorus, I couldn't breathe, and I was like, oh my God, I've got so much work to do with this. And sometimes I think back to that, like the first time we sung Go Wrong in the Room, or the first time we sung like certain songs. And now, like I've also like very happily for myself, like I stopped smoking cigarettes at the end of last year. And that's made like a massive difference for being able to sing as well. I probably should have just done that. Like, I was under the impression if Adele can smoke Marlboro Lights, then I can smoke them,
Yeah.
But no, it's made such a benefit for being able to do that. But just like it's all about lung capacity and control. Like I've sung forever. I've always been able to sing. I've been a studio singer for forever. But like it's very different to sing a song where you are literally like pushing every bit of air out of you for 3 minutes straight.
Yeah.
To like recording like a little bit and then giving yourself a nice bit to catch your breath and then record the same bit and then do it again and again and again. It's two completely different beasts. And sometimes I'll get too caught up in the moment of writing a song and be like, yeah, this is what it needs, this is what it needs. And then when it's done, and I'm like, this is fucking quality, but there's no way I'm going to be able to sing this live. And then it's like, pitch it down, pitch it down, pitch it down. And then I think that's why some of the songs end up sounding a bit darker, because they've just had to be pitched down. Like Missing Out was like a full step higher when I wrote it. And that gives it such a different vibe. Like the verses have this real, they have like a sense of promise and hope and joy. And then in the other ones, it's just miserable, which is the quota. It's got to be miserable. Whenever we're writing a song, and I'm like, "What about this major?" No, I'm like, "Nah, we're not going there. We're not going to the major. This is not part of the specification of a Happy Days song yet."
Ironically, we're a band named Happy Days.
I know. I think that every now and again it works, but it needs to be really carefully put in. Otherwise, it's crazy how it can make it not fit. So quickly with what we're doing, or any other song. The only way to be able to do it would be to write a whole record that is almost happy.
Yeah.
But good luck getting that out of it.
Well, I mean, just as a side note, like, congrats on stopping smoke. I know I've never smoked myself, but I know from other people, like, it's hard to kind of quit that habit and the nicotine addiction, stuff like that. So yeah, congrats on that. Not only as a better singer, but healthier person.
Yeah, definitely. But like, you gotta get rid of the vapes and all that as well.
Oh yeah.
total sucker for a Lost Mary, but it's I appreciate that. It's so much better. There really is no need to do it.
Cheaper too, I imagine, as well, saving so much money.
Totally.
Yeah,
I think that was maybe the reason why I had to stop. I couldn't afford it anymore. No, yeah, it's definitely making a difference. It's because like we're still in the process of bringing these songs into the live situation. We were just working on other stuff. Not really had the need to, because of the way that we write music. We're not sitting playing it together. The fun part for us at the moment is like reimagining the songs for like our little Instagram and TikTok videos. So it'll be like what section of the song are we going to do? What elements of the beats are we going to take and chuck on the SPD for you to play, Pete? What riffs are you going to play? Are you going to play riffs that are even in the song? What do we keep from the track to be able to make it feel as though it's still this song? Can I sing this bit of the song well enough to be able to do it live? You know, it's these bits, but that's been really, really good fun, and it's pushing us to be like tighter as musicians together. And I know it sounds hilarious, but like we do have an idea of kind of hitting the pub scene a little bit with that, and like going in and being slightly different from full on rock band, because I think that it'll help us find a musicality that it's not that we're lacking, we just haven't had time to develop it properly yet, because literally since the get-go, all we have done is just plan for the next thing. It's not been like, let's work on what we've got. It's been like the next thing, what's the best thing that we could do next, what's the song we're going to do next, what's the video we're doing next, what, like, are we working on a record, are we going on tour, what show are we practicing for, let's, you know. And it's not like, let's just take a bit of time and just like discover new elements of what we already have. And that's what we're getting up to now, which I'm really excited for.
Well, how does a typical Happy Days song come together? Do you kind of mainly write like the bass like skeleton of it, and then the other guys kind of pitch in?
So the majority of it is just like, for what we've done so far and everything that we've released so far, is just like I'll sit and write and like record it as I'm writing. I've done music production since I was like 15, which is almost as long as I didn't do it now, which is fucking crazy.
Let's not think about that.
No, let's not think about that. So yeah, I'll start with like a guitar riff, and then like if the idea is flowing and it's moving fast, usually by like half an hour into a session, I'm beyond the second chorus, and like we've got these ideas kind of flowing in that, because I've got a lot better at not being like this is the final version. But if there's something of where you're like creating a moment and you're like there's like a specific tone or there's a specific synth thing or something going on, like I do like focusing in on that and making sure it's perfect, and then it's like that can then carry the half hour of like so much will then come out of that half hour. Like I'll get everything, I'll be like, this is the way the chorus is going to go, this is how the verse is going to go. And then as we're getting into that point, it's just like like a little line or something will come in, or like the lead guitars usually or something that will maybe like bring out a melody. Or then I'll write a melody and I'll be like, oh, that would be cool, playing the guitar as well and stuff like that. Like they kind of back and forth with each other. But by the time, if I'm sitting in the house doing it where I feel as though I do get the best kind of stuff, like without feeling as though I'm trying to perform in front of other people, I think it's hard to sort of get rid of that. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to write the best song in front of you right now. Like you never do it.
Yeah.
But like I can remember writing Faded though, and like the majority of the time, I'll be down in the studio and it'll be me and Pete. And Pete's cutting about in the background, and I'll be doing stuff. I'll be like, what'd you think of that? He's like, yeah, that's dope. Oh yeah, do that again, try that again. Then I'll be like, right, cool, we've got the drums like ready to go in. Like I've set up the tracks and I'm like, get on the kit, just fucking bash some stuff out. And then even in other cases as well, I'll have like a verse chorus, and then Pete will have to jump off in like 15 minutes. So I'm like, right, just fucking play. And we've done this on Zoom as well. He'll be at the studio, and saving having to do like a full studio day, we'll spend an hour working on the song. And as we're reaching the end of the hour, I'll just be like, keep on playing a load of fucking stuff, and then I can cut it up and make it whatever. And that's how the thinking you came about. Like the structure of the song was just like him. I had a completely different riff, and it went to the major, and that's why I rewrote it. So it's like they all kind of come about in that same sort of like ideas, just all of a sudden are all getting thrown together super fast, because it's like that goes with that, that's what should come next, I do think that it's kind of like a psychic thing. You're pulling it out of the ether, you know what I mean? It all exists out there, and you're just like grabbing those moments, and like you got one that had something, and it's like they're all attached to each other, and you're just pulling it all back in. But sometimes, you know, you get a riff and there's a beat, but that was it. There's nothing else to pull in, and you're just like, right, that's cool. I've sat here for half an hour. I've tried. I'm going to save this. I'll export it so that it's just in like the little folder, and then just don't worry about it. Start something else. And there's been plenty of times, and the reason I'm not afraid to do it is there's been plenty of times of where in a day I'll have done that, and maybe by the fourth time I do that, I'm onto something like, I'm like, this is the one. And looking for the demos and the sessions of the Feel Free Radical tracks, you can see on the day there's like rubbish beat, guitar fast, something, and then it's like lighter, darker, and lighter and darker was Cool Blue and Heaven You Felt. And that was the same day, and that was the fourth and fifth idea that day, trying to just like get something. And now they're like the songs that are on the record. So it's like I've went on this journey, especially through lockdown, of like constantly songwriting, and it is the only way to write really good songs is to write lots and lots of crap songs.
So you kind of got to like wade through all the stuff that's not so good, or that you know you can't quite finished just yet, and then get all like the songs that have obviously come out, the good songs, and then I guess you could always, if you kind of got writer's block later down the line, you could always go back to those demos, and then maybe in a different mindset, you might be able to finish whatever that idea was that you started. You might be able to take it into
direction. Yeah. And like, if you look at a video I put on our Instagram, don't forget about your old song ideas. Heaven You Felt was the 8th demo idea that I wrote in March 2020. Like, hadn't even turned April yet. It had just been, like, the lockdown had just been announced. And I was like, here we go. I was like 3 weeks of getting to sit on the computer every day. This is going to be amazing. 6 weeks every day, 9 weeks every day. You're still not getting me down, man. I'm fucking stoked. I'm here writing away. I'm gonna be writing beats every single day until I have to go back out into the world. And then when I did have to go back into the world, I was just like, I want to go write my beats. It was good. Yeah, I don't miss that process though. I don't miss the process of like that being the only thing that I have to do. It is nice to go outside and see people, but yeah, you just gotta power it out, man. You gotta sit and think of any idea that you've got and put it out into the wild. But yeah, don't give up on your old song ideas. Save everything. There's always going to be something from it. I find quite a lot of the time with the vocal stuff is that like you can write like a whole pile of nonsense, but then you'll get like one really nice hook, and then you're like, right, disregard the rest of it, and then just take that out and put it in the context of something else, and then that can spawn a whole other load of ideas. And then maybe the original vocal idea isn't there, but it's just like, I mean, like obviously I'm talking about writing songs really clinically here. Like this is like about the music and stuff, and like it's finding the inspiration for the melody, because these are the two most important factors in it. It's like people aren't necessarily resonating with the story that we're telling necessarily, because it's like it's not really a story. It's like talking about feelings. It's very literal, you know what I mean? And like there is like there's definitely room for that, and I think that's where we're going to go next. And that's again, it's all just part of this. Like we're still on that journey of discovery of writing the song, and the process of like what is it that makes our good songs good? What could make our good songs better? I'm excited to do that, man. We're back writing again. Like we're always writing something. There was a few months where we just didn't have time. We were doing music videos and stuff. Our studio got torn to pieces doing the Cool Boy video, and then we literally only put it back together. Not like torn to pieces, but it was just like, it wasn't in its optimum setup, you know. It wasn't like the guitars weren't where they needed to be, the desk wasn't where they needed to be, the drums weren't where they needed to be. Everything has a very specific place in our room, because it's like everything's in one room. It's like a big room, you know, but it needs to be, the feng shui is very important, you know.
Yeah.
The couch relative to the desk, and the fridge with all the cokes and the beers and the waters. It's so funny when you look at it. It's just like we look so unhealthy. It's just like you walk in, there's like 2 bottles of water, 2 bottles of champagne, loads of gin, loads of beer, loads of Coca-Cola, barbecue sauce, brown sauce, just like all that. It's all the condiments of how to cook up a good song around the desk. You don't see a lot of vegetables in our studio. I mean, like, to be honest, if we're wanting to write songs that aren't particularly happy, then maybe we do just have to sit and eat sad food.
Yeah, definitely.
Living up to the stereotype of being Scottish and unhealthy there. But it's fine.
When in Rome, as they say.
Yeah. When in Edinburgh, eat chips.
It didn't take you too long until you guys got, you bagged a label deal with Thriller Records, which is really cool. How did that even come about? Because I don't think had you played a show before that happened, or?
No, we had just released our 4th single, and it's like my favorite story to tell, because we just, on the run up to releasing Bad Taste, we got some tapes made up, and we done this tape giveaway, and we were like, if you go and follow us on Spotify, you can win a tape. Just tag us, and we'll send you a tape if you want to. And it's like, it was a really nice tape. I've got one somewhere. I don't know where they are though. All that it took for that to instantly blow up our DMs, because it was COVID and that. Nobody was going out and doing anything. Everybody was just sitting on social media, and everyone was like, I'll have a free tape. All I have to do is just go boop, boop, screenshot that. Like, that is like literally like the peak amount of effort I have to put into anything right now. So everyone was like saying we're doing it, and loads of people done it. And then we're like, we're giving away 1 tape. We're giving away 5 tapes. We're giving away 10 tapes today, like each day. And then at the end of the week, we announced that Bad Taste was coming out. And we were like, if you've got a tape now, you can listen to it. It's on like side B. If you've got like an old car, you can chuck it in and go listen to it. Song comes out next week. Go pre-save it. And now it's the exact same thing. Pre-save, follow, whatever, counts as 2 entries, we'll send you a tape.
Right. And
when we released it, like 4 single, like I think we had like 500 followers or something on Spotify. Like we were like a super, super, super new band. And they put us in 7 editorial playlists. which is like, it was crazy for us at that time. I was like, oh my God, like we've done like 10K streams in the first like 2 days, and we were just like, this is amazing. This really fucking worked. There's no way that it wasn't down to the fact that we were pushing the pre-save and all that.
Yeah, sick.
And then just because it got put in the playlist with all these songs, it was then put in the artist radio of a bunch of stuff. Nick, who works at our record label, was just listening to Spotify, and then Bad Taste came on. He was like, what is this? And this was on a Sunday. He sent an email on the Sunday. We spoke on the phone on the Monday, and we had our first offer by the Wednesday. And we were just like, we were talking to a couple of different labels at the time. We were sending out like what the demos of Underground Summer Sound were, even though we hadn't recorded it, we demoed it all. They just were so keen and showed such genuine interest in it. And it was the main thing that got it for me was that they didn't want to, it wasn't like, yeah, we're just going to speak to the management. It was like first conversation. They were just like, don't want to speak to the management. I want to speak to the band.
Yeah.
I want to find out what they're about. And that was instantaneously, I was like so keen to work with these guys. And like they've grown with us as well. They were a super new label at the time. So like we've watched like them like get bigger and bigger and bigger and get bands like The Word Alive, and like great team to work with. Super supportive of all of our creative choices, which is amazing to have. And yeah, it's great to go on the journey with them.
Yeah, like you say, they're a relatively new label as well. So as you said yourself, it must have been so good to kind of like grow with them. And, they've taken on bands like you that are like relatively new, but they've got established bands like you said, The Word Alive, In Our Own Words and stuff like that. So
have you listened to Avoid?
Yeah.
They're my favorite Thriller band, man. They're just like, it doesn't matter if you're not like, into the music or whatever, like when you see that live video that they've done in particular, like they are shit hot. They are so fucking good. And they're like big riffs, big tones. That guy's voice is nuts. Like I wish I could scream. I wish I could scream so badly, but I'm just afraid to push it to that point in my voice, because it's like, what if I can't go back? What if it's just like frazzled and I do it wrong or whatever? I'd love to be trained to do it properly though. So just to give it like, I don't want to be like cutting about doing like death growls or anything like that, but it's good to be able to just have the balance of the emotion sometimes. That is a rule. No, there's never going to be screaming in a Happy Daze song. Well, I say that now, but if the right person wanted to do it, then maybe.
Yeah. Going back to your new EP, Full Free Radical, where would you kind of say that picks up from Underground Summer Sound? Because I think it's kind of like a year between the two records, and I mean, to me it seems like the electronic side of your guys' sound was kind of pushed to the forefront a bit more on this new record.
It was always there. I was listening to the record on Spotify because it's the easiest place for me to listen to it.
Yeah.
And then With You came on again, and I was like listening comparatively to the mixes. I was just like, damn, we did not push the electronic side of it enough. It's always been there, and it was just like the band was sitting on top. And it makes me want to like go back to a couple of the ones of where it's like, just to be able to show it's just like, this has always been here. We've just not like didn't make enough of a case for it to be like, this is the kind of band that we want to be like pushing it to be towards. And like, it's not down to whoever mixed it. It's down to us being like, like this, what we should have said is that like the band needs to like sit back. It's always been the idea of there's two bands going on at the same time almost here. And it's like, you've got the rock band, then you've got the fake band.
Right.
And they're most of the time going at the same time. So one of them needs to be the fake band that's like sits behind it and all that with like the samples and the beats and all that sort of stuff. But being able to jump between the two of like that, like if you take like Missing Out, for example, like everything that's going on in the background of that, like the boom boom tack, the boom boom back, like all that is like super groovy. It's not a pop punk beat, you know what I mean? If you were to take out, in fact, you don't need to take out anything. If you just hear it, it's like it doesn't initially sound like a pop punk song. It could be anything, but then the vocals come in and you're like, all right, cool, this guy's about to cry about something. With You is like. What I was worried about with Heaven You Felt was that people were going to be like, they've just done another With You, but nobody's made that comparison of the fact that With You is just like, it's a drum and bass song as well, but it's a very much like band focused drum and bassy song in the mix of that. But when we play it live, I just feel the breakbeat like absolutely like pounding through the speakers, and like you get these huge 808s that just like, it's a completely different beast when you see it live because of the fact that all the tracks are from when I was demoing it, as opposed to when it was the final mix. Okay. So it's like when we go and play live, the balance of everything is a lot more as we intended it, not as what is like necessarily best for a mix or whatever like that. It's like when we go play live, like the 808s are huge. Like you are aware of them. There's no subtlety to the fact that it's like there's an electronic element going on in this. And like I made a joke with a security guard on stage in Birmingham. He's like standing at the side looking all serious. And like some guys like, can you just give me the tracks then? And I play it. And like at some moments, yeah, it could just be a song that's playing out of the tracks, but there's a band playing on top of that. Like, none of the elements that we are doing are coming through the tracks. Like, these are things that are unreplicatable unless we had like a fucking DJ on stage, which like we're not going to do. We don't have a bass player. We're not going to have a fucking DJ. This element is there, and like, you know, yeah, we could press that and we could just dance on stage if we wanted to. But like, yeah, the fake band, like I like to call it, is like is the thing that sets us aside from it, and it's like 100% what we're honing in on with the new stuff that we're writing. It's the direction that I want to go, because a lot of people, you know, all electronic music sounds the same. I kind of feel that in some instances, if like, in particular, like genre specific, like if you listen to like we went after our release show, we went to a reggaeton night. And it's just like sitting in every single song, like you can't believe they're changing songs because it's all boom, da boom, da boom. Yeah. And it's like, I don't want to be like that. I want it, and it's what you were saying, like the sort of freeing of the limitation of genre, because we dive between all these different kinds, and it's the band is what like links it all together. It's like there's a band in the middle of it, and all these arms reach out to all these different kind of sounds. Where it's like you could have the drum and bassy one, you could have the actual like pop punk song, you could have the one where it's a little bit more like hip hoppy and like sample driven, and then one that's a little bit more like 90s lo-fi, and it's got like all these like textures of what you would hear in a song that would have came out like 30 years ago. Yeah, I love the balance of all of that. While Jack Saunders said it best, like he was just like, you're taking a classic sound but embracing modern production. And the fact that he compared us to Turnstile while saying that, and I was just like, oh, come on, you fucking legend.
Yeah. Well, what do you think of like the current kind of pop rock, pop punk kind of scene? Because I think you guys are kind of pushing forward with, you know, bands like Superlove or Sharia Moore.
Superlove was the band I was going to say. They've got that song that came on after us quite a lot on Radio 1. It's the one that's like, "Things are never getting easier." That's a tune, man. That's a fucking tune. Big riffs on that. Great production and stuff as well. Yeah. I don't really listen to a lot of like the sort of stuff that we play. I like to find that, especially while I'm in like a writing zone, like I'm just now, like when I'm not focusing on writing, I'll listen to anything.
Right.
I'm very, very conscious of not accidentally putting something in my mind that I forget where I heard it. And then like,
kind of use it.
I came up with that. I came up with that. You know what I mean? Like I've been good at just be like, no, don't influence yourself like that. And I'm trying to influence myself with stuff that I have no idea how it's made. Like one of my favorite artists of all time is Bonobo. Love all the records, and like in particular the older stuff, just because like I associate it with being like young. Yeah. Not that I'm not anymore, but you know, like, you know, just like being like dead young and just like enjoying these sounds for the first time, not hearing anything like it. And it all been very, very like the early stuff's very real. Like he's sampling real sounds, and you can hear the organicness of it. You can hear the room that he was recording it in at the same time as like all the like the clicks and pops are going with the sounds that he's creating. And then like again, like the evolution of his sound has been like taking away that natural stuff and becoming a lot more synthetic, and like released like a housey song recently, and I was just like, this is fucking mad. Like it's having this is definitely by this artist, but it sounds well different to anything else that they've done. And my favorite sort of like alternative artist, I love Gene Dawson. That album that he just brought out, Chaos Now, that's art, bro.
Well, I think it's good that you take influences from other places, because that's what kind of helps build the sound, right? Because as you just said, if you're listening to so much like pop rock, pop punk, you might accidentally steal something or like replicate something. And then if you're doing similar things to another band, then what makes you stand out?
Totally. And I will watch a band. I'll always watch a live band. I think that not out of like, I'm not saying if I listen to something, I'm going to copy it or whatever, but I think that it's quite easy if you were like, to get into a record with a band, and then without even realizing it, you're just like, they're mixing that with that and they're doing that with that, and you're like doing it in your head, and that's great. It's good to take it in, but like to listen to it all the time and like listen to it like and like properly analyze it and stuff, you don't realize how much of that shit's going in your head. And I much prefer it on like a sort of like subliminal level of like whatever's going on in the background I'm listening to, and I'm kind of taking it in. And like never like properly, in particular when I'm at work, like I'll just like let Spotify radio just do its thing, and every now and again I'll turn around and I'll be like, whoa, what was that? That was cool. And like there's been a couple of moments where like me and like one of my mates that I'm working with, I was listening to I really like Kenny Beats' new album, Louis, really good record, and the radio from that had this mad song come on, and it had the craziest beat switch up in it ever. And me and Kieran looked at each other, we were like, did you hear that? That was fucking wild. And like we put it back and we were like both listening, like, how the fuck did they make that? How the fuck did they do that? That was, and like full, like we both work in this bar, both of us are like full bar, we're like rewinding this little bit and say, and we're just like, how are they doing that? Like, fucking like turn that up.
Yeah.
Guys waiting to get served, we're like, nah, fuck off.
No.
They've done this beat switch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I don't disregard anything. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, if a new record comes out, I'll listen to it because I want to hear what people are up to. But actually, like, I'm not in a like a ooh way. But I'm really hard to please. If I like something, I love it. If I don't like it, I'm so indifferent to it. I won't like go hard on it or whatever.
Yeah,
but if I see something in it, right now for me that is Sleep Token.
They're going places, man.
Yeah, they're literally just like in my ears all the time, every single day. Like, I can't get enough of that record. It's so good. The Summoning is like, I just love how many bands are doing this right now, where they're writing music that when I was doing that sort of stuff in 2016, well, not even 2016, like 2014 up to like 2017. Yeah, 2014, 2018, something like that. That sort of 4-year period. It was just not the thing. No one was into it. And I love seeing bands doing this now, and it's like they just explode. Like, they're not obviously exploding, but there's like certain bands that have got these like what are like very hard to market sounds to like a mass group of people, but they've found their audience, and like they're totally going places. Like, you know, Sleep Token, Loathe, Static Dress. They're like my 3 main examples of that. Like, unbelievable musicianship, like super hard grooves, like really aggressive music that's reaching people on like a way that's like so much more than what it is. And like, if you take all 3 of those bands, the main thing that they have in common, because like they're all very different sounding.
Yeah, definitely.
The main thing they have in common is that their visuals are unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it carries them through it like so much, because people are just so drawn in by what they see before they even hear it. I love that.
I think especially for, like, you mentioned Static Dress and obviously Sleep Token. Sleep Token always have the like anonymity kind of thing, but Static Dress as well, they have like all these like different codes and things interweaving in and out, and then there's loads of like theories and lore behind Sleep Token and stuff. So I think that kind of like draws people in as well. Like, there's things beyond the music, the surface level.
It's music for D&D fans. Like, so they can go and they can like have their lore and have everything behind it. I love it. I think it's so cool, and it's like being able to make it so much. It's like the irony is that he's like, the intention of the anonymity is so that it's about the art, but that in itself is like it's so interesting that it's just like it brings you in. Like, the intent of it, like, just focus on the music. That's so interesting that I'm going to go and listen to the music to see what it's about. They're going against the grain of like everything that is expected of a band right now, where it's like, it doesn't even matter how your song goes, as long as you're making a TikTok video about it. That's what people are happy about. And I'm like, it's defeating. That's a defeating feeling. And like, right now for us, we're wanting to find a way where like we can embrace that and adapt to the change that we need to do. I watched an interview with Tyler, the Creator, and he was like, I walked out of I think he said he was in like, it might have been in Abbey Road, having a session in Abbey Road, and he'd just like written out and like recorded like a full orchestra piece, and he'd wrote it. And he walked outside to go get some lunch, and some guy came up and was just like, "Oh man, you're the guy from those Vine videos. You should keep doing that. That's really funny." And walked away. And he said that he immediately deleted all his videos, anything that wasn't to do with music, and hasn't done anything like it since, because he never wants that to happen again, where somebody comes up and goes, that thing that you can't even remember doing, that you're not interested in, that's what they think that you're about, and that's your art. Where you've just went in and you've just scored a full orchestral piece, and no one anybody who's like looking at you for what you do doesn't give a shit about that. Yeah, and it's like, it comes to the point of where like the artistic integrity inside of yourself, you don't want to be a meme. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's true. You were mentioning before, like, you guys are already like kind of working on more new music and stuff like that. What's that kind of shaping up to be? Do you think you're just going to do like singles? Is it going to be an EP? Are you planning for an album at some point, or is it? We have a plan in place for it, but I mean, like, we didn't expect it to take this long to release Filthy Radical, so I'm not committing to nothing just in case. But our intentions are pure. our intentions are release as much music as possible always, and like just so that we're not sitting on stuff for too long as well, because like we move past where these songs are quite quickly. Like when Underground Summer Sound was coming out, like Faded was already written, you know, like,
right.
a lot of these songs were like more than just formulated ideas. They were like, these are the ones these are finished songs, you know, and we weren't in that position this time, which I think is interesting. It was like we'd used up not all of the good stuff, which is a shame, because some of the stuff that's sitting there is great, but it's just never going to be better than what we can do now. We've passed that learning curve, and that's what a lot of them was. And you can hear elements of songs that are out now that came from like tiny little moments in these demos. I'm sure we'll get something about them out one day, but did they even need to exist other than on our hard drives and stuff like that? You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. These are kind of for us. They're definitely, the newer stuff that we're doing is a bit darker. It's a bit sort of more, it's interesting. It kind of sounds realer,
right?
Less spat out a computer, if you know what I mean. We're working with Jim, who mixed Filthy Radical, and we also recorded the drums with Jim. But the way that we're doing it is that we're all going down to the studio and we're all like playing parts on it and like contributing. It's the same writing process, but like it gets to a point of where it's like, now we can add some other moments and stuff like that. And like having the boys track some extra guitars and stuff on it, it makes a difference for me, because it means we're in the studio being productive, but I can lie on the sofa.
Okay. Yeah.
Like actually like think about it instead of having to be thinking about what am I playing, what am I doing and all that. And yeah, I mean like Jim, like he engineered Sleep Token, like man knows exactly what he's doing. So
yeah,
like it's really good working with him. And like again, like we're still not sure about like, you know, like what direction it is that we want to go. So like we're on the journey about that again. And like this is my favorite point in that, is where we're like, we've got a bunch of ideas sitting here that like we could be like, right, these are the ones that we're going to move forward. But what if we just wrote another couple and we see where that goes? What if we like, try this? What if we try that? So that's where we're at the moment. And like that's my intention today. Like you asked me earlier on what have I got on today, is we've taken a day off from the studio, but I'm probably going to sit for an hour or two and just chuck out a couple of ideas and see if anything sticks. And if it does, it does. And if it doesn't, I go outside again. It's sunny in Scotland for the first time in ages, so I'll probably just enjoy that. Yeah,
that's a rarity, isn't it? Like sunny in the UK at all, you know, maybe 3-4 days a year.
I'm actually really, really stoked to see that today is mostly cloudy until like 5 o'clock, and it's a high of 14 degrees, which is all that says to me is you're going to write some riffs today.
So the weather kind of dictates how the day is going to pan out for you.
Literally,
I mean, because I've got red hair, I'm not really big on like the sun anyway. I just burn so easily. Like, so,
mate, I've got a ginger gene though. I know that like looking at this camera right now, like my hair doesn't look it, but it's like it's all here, it's all in the face.
Yeah,
and it's like I'm pretty freckly in that as well. So like, but somehow, right? This is crazy. I was out in the sun on Monday all day, went for a really nice picnic and that, sat in the Botanic Gardens in Edinburgh. It was what you could describe as a perfect day, to be honest.
Right,
it was fucking brilliant. I was wearing shorts for the first time in like a year because I'm in fucking Scotland. And I was looking at my legs last night, and somehow where the shorts were, like covering my legs, it looks like burnt. And then where my legs were out, they're like milk bottle white. I don't know
how the hell?
I don't know. But I was looking at it again and like showed my mate yesterday. I was like, and he was like, I don't believe you. I was like, bro, and I like, took my fucking jeans down. I was like, look at this. And they're like, how the fuck is that? I have no idea. It's just because my body is so not used to the sun, is that it literally doesn't know how to tan.
yeah. That's my shades are white, pink, or red. Like that is it.
Damn.
What's planned for Happy Days in terms of like live shows? I think you've got a set at, is it No Play Festival?
Yeah, No Play on the 5th of August. Yeah, I'm really excited about that one. We're talking to a bunch of people about the potential going out later in the year. It's just been catching our breath again after last year, finishing off the record, doing all the needful bits of it. And like in the scheme of things, we're a really new band. You know what I mean? Like we still need to push our name out there a little bit more and go out. Don't think we've played 60 gigs.
Right.
Like we've played all the gigs that we have played, apart from 2 were last year. And then, apart from 3, because we played King Tut's earlier this year. We have not existed for a long time in the real world. We're very much a music band at the moment. We're not a live band, and I want to be both. Definitely want to be both. And like we've only played our hometown of Edinburgh twice, and the second time was the other week, and it was great to get our mates down and come and see what we'd been about. There was a couple of people who'd been to the first one and then that one, and they were like, genuinely, like, you know, the first time we saw you was like, yeah, this is really, really good, but like, you can see that was your first gig now compared to this, and like, you've went off and you've done all that sort of stuff, and it's good to have that progression. But the best compliment I got was off my mate Miguel, where he said, you're better live than you are recorded. And he was like, and you sound fucking amazing recorded, but like, there's and it's like I was saying, you know, it's like the elements that we want to be heard are heard when we play live. There's no mistaking that is a pound and 808 shaking every single part of your body while you're listening to it, you know?
Yeah. Well, hopefully you get, like, you know, quite a lot of more shows kind of booked up for the rest of the year and next year, and, you know, with all the new music you've been working on as well. So
many people message us saying, you know, play here, and like, we really, really want to, because that's the reason that we do it. It's absolutely the reason we do it. It was so surreal last year. We'd done the Neck Deep tour in June, and then we went back out with Rome in September. And we'd done a massive drive all the way to Cologne from Edinburgh, which is like, it's like 1,000 miles.
Yeah, it's not a short drive.
It's not a short drive. It's not like the usual kind of drive that you get to say over at this side of the pond. That's usually an American kind of drive. And yeah, like, big jump. Took the best part of a day to be, like, over a day to be able to get there. And then we played the show, and there was like a lot of people there who not only like were like, we've heard of your band, they were singing our songs, and we're like, holy shit, like, it works. If you go to the same city more than once, people come back.
Yeah.
That's why we need to fucking do it again. It was a super rewarding feeling, that though. I think that's one of my favorite shows that we've played so far. Was that Cologne show with Rome. Yeah.
Cool, man.
That's great.
Yeah. Like, I'm really excited to see where, like, this next stage of the band goes. Next time you're in Manchester, it'd be great to see you guys. I think, like, Underground Summer Sound was one of my favourite records from last year, and I think
amazing, mate. Thank you.
All Free Radicals kind of going in the same direction this year. So
amazing.
Yeah, amazing records, man. And, you know, congrats on all the success you've got so far, and, you know, no doubt what's yet to come.
I appreciate it, mate. I really, really do. And I really, really enjoy talking to people who have just got, like, an interest in what we do. It makes it so much easier for me to, like, describe what we're talking about, because I don't have to be like, we're kind of pop punk, and we're like, you know, we've got you know, it's like, yeah, it's good when you've got your own idea of what it is, because that's what it's about at the end of the day. I don't want to skew what your opinion of it is. I want to learn from what you hear from it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, being able to hear people, like, speak specifically at every single point about the things that I'm proudest of in this record means that it worked, and it was the right choice to, like, push towards the electronic side and be a little bit less band focused. And yeah, I'm really excited to let anybody who gives even half of a shit about it hear what we've got coming up next, because I'm excited too. Like, we're now on this journey for the first time in real time together. Like, there isn't really much that you've not heard. What you haven't heard is really fucking interesting and really cool, and it's like, again, we're going out there again. I chat shit, there's like literally like 50 songs that you could listen to. but they won't see the light of day. They'll stay on my hard drives. Literally got them sitting here. They'll be on these hard drives somewhere.
Yeah, before I let you go and enjoy the rest of your day, Luke, is there anything else you want to say? Any final words? Anything you want to plug? The floor's yours. Yeah, thank you. Feel Free Radical is everywhere. We spent a long time working on it. We spent a lot of time working on the visuals together ourselves. We're really, really proud of everything that's out there. We'd love for anyone to go check it out. Playing in Liverpool the 5th of August. Hopefully we'll be playing near wherever you're listening from at some point. And yeah, if you've been listening, thank you so much. I really hope you like our record, and please keep blasting it anywhere and everywhere. Nice one, man. Yeah, great to speak to you, and hopefully see you when you come back when you come to Manchester sometime. Absolute pleasure, mate. Hope to speak again. Yep, you too, mate. Take care. Take care, man. Bye. Bye. And that is it. Thank you so much for listening. Again, if you enjoyed this or any other episode of the podcast, then please leave a rating and review wherever you're listening to this. If you want to support the podcast further, you can go and give it a follow on social media, pick up something from the merch store, or subscribe to the Patreon to get early access to episodes. All the links can be found at itsnotaphase.co.uk. That's itsnotaphase.co.uk. Thanks again, hopefully catch you on the next one, and remember, it's not a phase, it's a lifestyle.